Howdy folks, got sick of messing around with the DRZ with its stupid electrical problems. Pulled out the gasser for have a play on something a bit more fun. I did manage to get these nice trick fork guards on during the week, which look really good. I think that little bit of red in there. Got them off Craig on the Facebook page. Cheers mate. Gasgas Original and Raiju Riders Australia. Look it up. So we're going to have a play on the gasser. Going to have a bit of a play around with the electrical system. I've got a few new bits and pieces to chuck in, including one of these little bad boys. Roller bearing in there. So we'll be chucking that on. Giving the starter a quick service. New chain, sprockets, chain guard, counter shaft seals. Pretty much just going to pop open that whole side there, give everything a bit of a clean up. So this video may go over a couple of days, but tonight we've just sort of started getting into it. I've pulled my bash plate and my pipe guard off. Thought I'd give you guys a quick look at that. So the pipe guard, it's a really old Whips one that I found somewhere. It was for a KTM. I had to cut this and weld it. I've added a few new bits on, like that whole outside ring there. Basically the way it mounts is a nice little bracket on the bottom that just goes straight onto the bash plate, and these two tangs here rest up against the frame, and I just have some hose clamps that I put around the frame and around those and do them up nice and tight, and that works well, especially when I mount it on my special skid plate here. It's looking a bit dirty. I've just pulled it off the bike. Bit of just high density foam there to keep a bit of the noise deadening out. That's a bit of an old bash plate that I managed to cut and fit, and I've pretty much just screwed that straight onto the bottom there. Bit of a custom made bracket here with some nut certs in there just to hold it all together. So I'll bolt that thing up real good. I still use zip ties at the back. I lost those brackets years ago, and then I do have some nut certs installed here and over here, and that's for the pipe guard to bolt onto. So it's taken a bit of work to get it to here, but it works well. I haven't dinged a pipe yet. Touch wood on that one, but been running this now for a few years. Been tough as hell. I can run to pretty much anything and not have to worry about it. Linkage is still looking good under the back there with that linkage guard. Bit of foam just to keep the noise down. Tired, but it's yeah, she's definitely got a story or two to her, that pipe guard, that bash plate. I can tell you that, saving from a lot of damage. Anyway, we'll keep getting into the teardown here today. I'll just talk randomly about bits and pieces as we go, but we'll see how this works out. Got my new tripod, so I'm going to set that up, and hopefully you'll be able to see what I'm doing well, and a few extra lights and stuff going on, see if that helps. So yeah, stay tuned, and we'll be talking a bit about the electrical system, what I've done with that. That'll be pretty much the next video, I think. Talk to you soon. First things first, disconnect your electrical system. If you're playing with any wiring, just unhook your battery. It's not worth it. Cause damage to your battery, you can make other stuff go to hell. Easy, done. Okay, so first thing, I might just quickly talk about what I've done to my electrical system. I've never really had that many problems with this. It's always worked well since I had the bike, which I got it close to new. It was a demo model bike. Electrostar worked great when it was new. I got it with 40 hours or something on it. So since then there's been the usual issues. So what have I done? I've upgraded my cables. I made these up myself. These are just heavy gauge speaker cable. I'm not sure if I can read what gauge they are anymore. We can measure them up. Super flexible wire. I've soldered connectors onto the end made sure all my connections are soldered. I've made these a bit longer just because the 15 and 17 having the battery under the seat's a bit of a pain in the ass when the restraining strap breaks and everything else. Just makes it a bit easier to live with. Doesn't look like it, but I do keep these connections here clean. That's one thing I do check regularly, is just open them up, give everything a good clean, put them back together. A little bit of grease on there doesn't hurt. It gets washed off over time. Everything here up here at the moment's a bit dusty, so anyway, replaced all the wires. I think there's one positive lead in here I haven't replaced from OEM, but negative is definitely upgraded to the thicker wiring. Negative lead bolted right onto the side of the starter motor here. I think that's a really big tip. And again, soldered connections. I think that's the OEM wire that's still in there, but I keep that one clean as well. I have replaced the brushes in this guy once with some Yamaha brushes, and I believe KTM brushes also fit. So brushes don't seem to be an issue, but do keep an eye on those. I've replaced all the bearings once in there, and I've had a couple of different Bendix covers on there. So today we'll be sticking the new fandangled ball race one in there. Thanks Jody at Euro Enduro. But yeah, got the Polio Sport covers on the side here. That protects everything pretty good there. I did have a little cover for the motor at one stage, but I don't know where that's gone. Keeps forgetting to get put on. Anyway, we'll rip into there a bit more and see what we find. Give everything in there a bit of a service. And yeah, see what we find. First things first, loosen the gear lever off. And we'll pull him out. There we go. Just a bit more space. We're going to get in. Got to get into everything eventually. Again, there's my oversized connection, and yes, I have soldered it straight onto the starter motor there. Always a good thing to do. And see if this one's going to let me in. Oh, that plastic's getting hard. I like to disconnect these just so I kind of remember to go and clean them before I put them back on. Just a quick wipe over with a bit of Scotch-Brite or something, and job's usually done. Starter motor out, bit of a wiggle, plenty of grease on there, always a good look. Like to try and keep in there really well packed with grease, just helps stopping water getting in. You do have this O-ring seal just here, but yeah, I just like to pack the hell out of it with grease, and I figure a bit extra just gets pushed through. So anyway, that's the starter motor out of there. Put on the bench. Next, I've got the Polio Sport covers on the side there, so we'll just rip those off. They've got slightly different head bolts to the rest of the case, I think. I think it's only the two. Check that. Oh, one more in under here. Oh, that was going to be a tricky one to get to. There's always one, isn't there? We'll just got the T-head off of that. Easy done. So I've been running this Polio Sport cover for a while. I do have it on both sides. This side fits really well, fits like a glove. The other side, the brake pedal does rub on it just a little bit. And as you can see, they do hold a bit of gunk. So we'll be giving that a good pressure wash out and make sure we clean all this up. We don't really want the dirt to sit in here and wear on things. It's not the best look, but anyway, we'll get all that cleaned up and shouldn't be too much of a drama. Oh yeah, so we're giving all that a good quick wipe down. Everything's looking peachy. Rest of it's a bit grubby, but anyway, we'll get in there. So basically, in this episode, we're just going to be popping off the Bendix cover, replacing that. I'll go over a bit of stuff, well, kind of already have, just with the upgrading of the wires there. I might actually be able to read it down here. No, I can't tell you the size. I'll have to size that up for you with the calipers. But keep down in here greased, keep the whole thing greased. Just pop the cover off occasionally, keep a bit of grease on those gears. We'll go into that further as we go. Yeah, we might need the gentle persuader. Well, there we've popped it open. Looks like we might have a little bit of water in here from the last time I washed it, so it might be a good thing we're popping it open today. It's interesting. Might have got a bit closer to the pressure washer. Everything's still looking very good though. We'll just give all this a good clean up. See where we go from there. Alright, so we're just giving all this a good wipe out in here, a bit of a clean. Tidy things up a bit. Everything's moving nice and freely in there as it should. So that's alright. Does look like we got a little bit of water in there last time we washed it, but that's alright. Might have caught it just in time, I think. Bendex seems to be working fine. Doing what it's supposed to do. We'll give that a dry out and a bit of a lube up and clean him up a little bit. Make sure that's tidy, and then we've got the new cover to put on. This one here hasn't actually worn yet. Well, very little anyway, from what I can see. Basically, what the issue is with these Bendex covers is this little hole in the top here where the Bendex shaft actually engages. That elongates slightly. I do have a worn one over there somewhere, but there's really not much in it. This face down here seems to last fairly well. It's this little oval one. So the new ones have helped to fix that by putting a little bush in there. So I'm pretty sure these are exactly the same cases, all in all, just with a little machined out bush placed in there and a very small roller bearing put in there down the main coupler for the Bendex. So it'll be very interesting to see how this one performs and how much better it lasts. So, but I think part of the key is just doing this regularly. Yeah, it's a good idea just to keep your grease up in there, check for water ingress as we've just found today. It'll give me a chance to quickly dry everything in there out, bit of compressed air, and clean up your terminals, keep them nice and clean, have it bolted directly to the starter motor essentially, and I don't seem to have too many problems. Anyway, one thing to check for. There is a little bush that sits on the back side of the Bendex here. And it will stick to the cases a little bit. Don't lose that one, kids. Let's see if I can pop him out. There we go. It's just a thin little bush. I'm pretty sure that one sits just neat on the end of the Bendex here for when the Bendex sits back in. So don't lose that one. Just a quick tidy up of those gasket surfaces there with a razor blade. Make sure we got none of that old gasket left on there. Do that first up before we clean too much else. As I'm breaking down my parts, I usually chuck them on the bench here or whatever, but I've been keeping all my aerosol can lids. These guys work great, so this is the Gasgas build we're doing over here. First bit of the bash plate and seat and stuff off. Next spot is all the cases and stuff, the bolts for those. And yeah, I just keep using these, reuse them. I always keep a stash here for a few other older projects and whatever else is going on in the workshop. Yeah, keeps things nice and tidy and easy to find stuff and easy to keep track of where things go. Good little tip. So next I'm just going to take off the chain guide, getting closer to that front sprocket. Do a bit of a clean up, rip that off, and then we've got a circlip in there just holding the sprocket on. So I'll just grab my circlip pliers if I can find them. Get out. Pop that off. Don't lose him, they can go and fly. So now that's ready to pull the sprocket off as well. We're going to check the countershaft seal in behind here. Oh, look at that. It comes off that easy. That's been leaking a little bit in there, so we'll give this a bit of a clean up. Probably change that seal and go from there. Put the back wheel out. Before you pull your wheel out, pop your chain link off. Much easier on the sprocket than it is without. I wouldn't have been able to film that anyway, but basically what you do is get a flat blade screwdriver, push on both ends of the rings and try and get one to pop just off. They end up usually flying. Chance to bend them too much, they don't like getting bent. Then your chain's apart. Anyway, so that's our joining link there. Hopefully we can get the rest of it apart without too much dramas. And the wheel back out. And before I forget, chain guard on this is also pretty worn out. I'll replace that while we're here. So rattle him off there. Well, that's my OEM one. That's over 300 hours and we're only just starting to wear through the bottom one here, but yeah, she's pretty much done. That's channeled. Good job. So that's about all the time we've got tonight. Everything's opened up, stripped down, chain off, wheel out. Ready to do a bit of a clean up and rebuild tomorrow, hopefully. We'll see how we go. Talk soon, folks.